So I'm Thomas Logan. I'm one of the organizers of the Accessibility New York City Meetup. Thank you for being here with us today. We're thrilled to be at Civic Hall, and we really appreciate Verizon for allowing us to continue on after their amazing event, celebrating the 35th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. I'm one of the co-organizers of the meetup. The other co-organizers are Ben Ogilvy, right here, and Irina Morozova in the back, and Meryl Evans, who is on our YouTube stream. So if you're never able to come in person, or if one of our events you aren't able to come, we always live stream on YouTube. You're able to fully participate, ask questions, and engage with the speakers. We've been doing that since the beginning of our meetup, and that is all thanks to Jolly McPhee from the Internet Society of New York's Accessibility Special Interest Group. Thank you, Jolly. We human caption all of our events, and that is thanks to Mirabai Knight, who is providing our captioning today. And we have our captioning available at the top of the screen for today's presentation. We also want to say thank you to Flip Wilson from IRA for the American Sign Language.
Charlie, we don't have Flip on screen right now.
And that's a great segue to, we're going to be seeing Flip on the second screen up here shortly. Flip is from the company IRA, who also is able to provide live audio descriptions. So if anyone here would like to have audio descriptions of the slides, you can actually use the tool called IRA Explorer, and there is a free geofence for tonight's event, and you'll be able to plug into that and have live audio descriptions as well. Meryl will be fielding the questions on YouTube. So if you are watching us on the YouTube stream, Meryl Evans will be taking your questions and putting them into a document. We want to also now say thank you to our sponsors. We want to say thank you to IRA, an app that connects people who are blind or low vision to professional visual interpreters for secure access to visual information anytime, anywhere. DQ, a leader in digital accessibility tools, services, and training. Equal Entry, a digital accessibility consultancy focused on results. Events, the software for accessible development. Fable, an accessibility platform powered by people with disabilities. And lastly, a special thank you again to Verizon for offering this wonderful space here at the Civic Hall for tonight's event. We are going to have several presentations tonight. This is a new format for us to have lightning talks. We're very excited to bring that to you all. We're going to be having 4 talks, and we're going to be starting with lessons on broadening engagement and accessibility innovation with Raquel from the How Innovation Center at Perkins School for the Blind. I do want to let everyone know that we will be taking all of the questions at the end. So after Raquel's presentation, let's all clap, and we will move on to our next presentation. And at the end, we'll take all questions, and we'll have about 20 minutes, 15 minutes for Q&A, and then we can socialize afterwards. With that, I'm going to now invite Raquel up from the How Center of Innovation Center in Perkins School of the Blind.
Just a moment.
Just this microphone.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining tonight. Let me set up my timer to be respectful of time. Hi, folks. Tonight we're going to be talking about broadening engagement and accessibility innovation. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to our event organizers and more. My name is Raquel Ronzone, and I focus on partnerships and disability tech at the How Innovation Center at Perkins School for the Blind, based outside of Boston. As a visual description, I'm a mixed Filipino woman with short black curly hair, and today I'm wearing a black blazer, a very bright orange collared shirt, and black trousers. So what is the How Innovation Center? We are an ecosystem support organization, about 2 years old, situated within a nearly 200-year-old organization, Perkins School for the Blind, the first and the oldest school for the blind in the country. Our goal is to create a more accessible world by connecting the disability and the innovation communities. And a key part of this is broadening this community, showing where and how everyone, regardless of their role, their sector, has a role in advancing accessibility. This includes people who are new to accessibility, people like myself, who, before joining Perkins about 3 years ago, didn't work in the disability space, despite having a personal connection to Perkins' mission. I was born with retinopathy of prematurity as a result of being born 4 months premature. That means that my retinas didn't develop typically. I've had about 10 eye surgeries. I wear glasses, contacts, have situational help. And in doing this work, I want to bring more people into this conversation and show where and how they can get involved. So when we talk about a disability tech innovation ecosystem, what do we mean? We can think about it as one centered around people with disabilities and their allies, and around them are all ecosystem stakeholders. That includes startups, academia, researchers, investors, corporates, testbeds, government, and more. Overall, we want to ensure that better co-designed products make it to market, products that meet the real-world accessibility needs of the disability community. So how do we do it? Tonight, as part of our conversation on broadening engagement, we're going to share 3 ways that we at the How Innovation Center have found success in broadening this community. So first is by reaching technologists, stepping beyond the accessibility space to talk to the people who are building tech, informing and advising on tech policy. That includes people who are doing it currently, as well as pre-professionals, students from grade school, high school, college, and more. So how do we do it? First, we deliver programming that solves entrepreneurs' problems. So for example, we at the How Innovation Center recently partnered with Mass Challenge, one of the world's largest startup accelerators, headquartered in Boston. We featured a disability tech carve-out among their cohort of over 100 startups. Additionally, we offered human-centered design training to all 120 startups in their cohort because we know that accessibility is important to embed across sectors. So we wanted to reach people who are building medtech, fintech, and more, and show them that accessibility matters. Next is a project that we're undertaking called Pilot with Perkins to understand our own innovation needs and to figure out how do we matchmake with corporates and startups working in that space. So for example, we're taking stock of our 3D printing needs on campus. Where and how can 3D printing and other forms of tactile information unlock accessibility for our students? And then how do we engage corporates and startups to staff that need? Additionally, we're learning to speak the investor language through our research. Our first publication was a white paper focused on the disability tech landscape. In it, we based our analysis on work from McKinsey and Company, and we found to date 2,500 disability tech companies worldwide. We organize this information by where the companies are, their country or their state, their end user community. Who is the community being served by this? Whether that's the auditory, visual, mobility, or neurocognitive communities, or multiple communities. The technology used, whether it's AI, robotics, or more. Additionally, we want to get in front of the tech community where they are, at tech conferences and events. So to that end, we've had the pleasure of going to TechCrunch, to CES, the MOVE Mobility Conference about transportation and more. And finally, we've had success in engaging local and online communities by the tech that they used, like AI, through which we found the Boston Generative AI Community Meetup and its 4,500 members, many of whom anecdotally have never thought about accessibility and thought about how AI can unlock accessibility for people with disabilities. We've also had luck in finding communities through grounding tech principles, like responsible tech or humane or ethical tech. And through that, we found the All Tech is Human community on Slack, and its 11,000 members. All of this brings us to our first lesson learned, own being the so-called lone wolf in accessibility because you're reaching new audiences. Additionally, we also want to reach cultural organizations. Why? Because we know that disability is part of the human experience. And these cultural organizations offer a touch point, an opportunity to engage people in this. So how do we reach them? We engage with universities and schools, like project-based collaborations, semester-long collaborations. For example, we recently partnered with a consulting group at Tufts University, based outside of Boston. We took their existing discipline, business, marketing expertise, and we applied a disability lens on top of it based on our query. what is the national landscape analysis for adaptive furniture? And after a semester, they came back to us with a specific number. And now we know what that need is and how to meet it. On the next slide, we'll talk more about our collaboration with Olin College of Engineering, a group of computer science students who collaborated with us on accessible data presentation. Additionally, we've had success in engaging libraries, museums, makerspaces. We seek out participation opportunities on panels, and we encourage others in the space to do so as well. Submit disability-focused media for book talks and film club nights and more. We know firsthand that cultural organizations matter. We're engaged in a partnership with the Museum of Science to inform their content and programming on disability. To that end, we've had 2 events to date. One focused on the disproportionate effect of climate change on people with disabilities, an opportunity to engage the STEM community who might not have considered this before. And more recently, an event focused on the intersection of democracy and disability, and how people with disabilities can and should be able to participate in democratic systems, an opportunity to engage tech policy people and government members. Brings us to our second lesson learned. Whatever the opportunity, the answer is accessibility. For more on our Olin College collaboration, Ben, could you help me with this video? Thank you.
There we go. Super.
Super, thanks. On screen is a representation of the data collaboration that we did with Olin College of Engineering. We aim to present this data in multiple formats. So there's a map, one can access by map, by chart, tabling through the data, as well as downloading this information. We've also taken stock of disability tech companies globally, in addition to by state. California is leading, with Massachusetts as number 2. Again, the opportunity to engage in this information by pie chart, as well as download this information, engage with it by tables, and more. Following this example, you'll see a sonification. The use of sound to represent growth in disability tech companies over time. Disability tech companies per year with a spike in 2017. And again, at twice the speed. It's opportunities like this that we take to take a layer of accessibility and disability experience, which we know well, and use it as an opportunity to engage with college students who might not have ever considered about accessibility previously, but are very well versed in computer science and more. Thank you. That's perfect. Which brings us to our last takeaway. First, solve their needs first, and then solve yours. We know in doing this work that our value as a partner comes from solving other people's problems and removing their friction points. And in doing so, we deliver on our goals in addition to delivering on theirs. So how do we do this? We recommend you prepare others to pitch. Make your case to them and help them make the case to their higher-ups, their collaborators, their colleagues. Prep them with pitch decks, talking points, briefs, and more, and back it up with data. Illustrate the value of your work and collaboration. For example, in our partnership with the Museum of Science, we of course know that more disability-focused programming matters. And for the museum, it matters that they get more and new attendees. Through this partnership, we can do both. Finally, listen and respond. As a result of our broadening and deepening engagement with stakeholders across the ecosystem, we uniquely understand their pain points, and we're uniquely equipped to solve them. So we at the Howe Innovation Center are really excited to share that we're building 2 things. One is a user testing pool to streamline testing among the disability and the innovation community. And next is a Slack community to connect all of the global members of the disability tech ecosystem, creating a centralized place where they can share news, updates, job opportunities, job asks, mentorship offers, and more. If anything that we talked about tonight resonates with you, we invite you to join our community. On screen is a QR code to join the Howe Innovation Center. Thank you.
Raquel, I hope you loved that background music we ordered up for your presentation. And, we're going to try to lift the volume up in here as well. This is another great reason to have captions at an event to make sure we can all hear correctly. But thank you so much, Raquel. And I hope we can see New York to raise up in those innovation leaders and beat California and Massachusetts. Come on. All right, so next up is Keita on audio engineering by people who are deaf and hard of hearing from the New Jersey Institute of Technology. Thank you, Keita.
One moment, please. Okay, so just delete it. Okay. All right. So do you want to keep it? Okay. Cool. All right. Cool. All right. It's our first time doing lightning talk format. We're still figuring out the technical flow. Da-da-da-da. Okay. Okay. There you go. Okay.
Maybe this. Yes. Okay. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. A little bit nervous, but I try my best. I hope you enjoy my talk today. My name is Keita Oshiro. I'm a lecturer at the New Jersey Institute of Technology, where I teach courses like user experience design or data analysis or programming. And then I'm also a PhD student there, so I do research on accessibility and technology. And today I'd like to talk about my research on audio engineering by deaf and hard of hearing individuals. So before diving into the topic, I want to briefly share some background information. I focus on people who are deaf and hard of hearing, often abbreviated as DHH. By convention, in my research field, there are three common identifications. The term hard of hearing usually refers to a lighter degree of hearing loss, whereas deaf with lowercase d refers to more severe hearing loss. And the term deaf with capital D refers to a cultural identity. They often speak sign language as their native language. And today's talk covers deaf with lowercase d and hard of hearing individuals, so DHH with lowercase d. But I also understand and respect that some people feel uncomfortable with this lowercase d, uppercase d differentiations, and personal identification varies, and it's personal identification, so there's no definitive definition. With that in mind, please allow me to follow the convention common in my research field for today's talk. Okay, then talk about audio engineering. Audio engineering involves recording, manipulating, and reproducing sound for music, podcast, TV, radio, whatever. The typical workflow is recording is to capture the instrument's speech, etc. And then you import the audio tracks into your computer and do editing. People use software called digital audio workstations, I call it DAW, to perform audio engineering tasks. In editing, you try to make multiple audio tracks sound good as a whole. And then the final goal is to produce the best sounding artistic product. So it's not just a procedure, but rather more creative and artistic work. Like two engineers can produce very different results from the exact same tracks. This page shows the screenshot of a DAW. There are a bunch of rows. Each row shows one audio track and its waveform, which is a visual representation of sound. For example, in podcasting, one row can be the audio track for an interviewer, and another row for an interviewee, another row for background music, and so on. And then audio engineers do tasks like balancing track volumes, timings, stereo placement, equalization, inserting sound effect, and so on. Okay, let's turn to the main topic, how DHH individuals do audio engineering. To explore this, I conducted interviews with 12 DHH audio engineers, 8 working in music, and 4 in podcasting. And I want to share some of the key findings. Many of my participants described the persistent insecurities due to their hearing. As one participant said, my ears can be a little deceptive. Also, it took extra time and effort for them to conduct audio engineering. Another participant who became deaf during their career said, if I didn't have the hearing loss, it would have taken half the time at least because I could trust what I was hearing. In addition, some participants lack an innate understanding of certain sound concepts. For example, a participant born with a single-sided deafness said, I can't ever really experience it, like stereo sound, the same way that the people with 2 ears can. So what's their workaround? One of the main workarounds is a visual editing. To better perceive sound, they leverage visuals within a DAW. For instance, take a look at these waveform snapshots on the left. The top one is someone laughing, and you can tell that visually without listening because of this fishbone shape. And then the bottom one, you can visually tell there is a plosive sound like what sound because you see that big spike at the start. In editing, you can trim it down so it doesn't blast your listeners. On the right, there's a stereo field view, a half circle with a lot of dots inside, so you can see how sound spreads left and right. And these are just a few examples, but these visuals give deaf and hard of hearing audio engineers more confident about what's going on with the sound and help them save their hearing energy since they tend to get tired easily when listening. Of course, visuals can only take you so far. As one participant said, I can depend on my eyes and the graphic readouts only so much. And another participant said, you do end up with complicated guessing game, so you can't see every nuance of sound. At the last result, participants turn to their hearing friends. They'll ask peers to give feedbacks to ensure the quality of work. Pretty much every audio engineer does this, but DHH audio engineers rely more on it. That said, asking for help isn't always easy. You have to learn how to be open and better at asking for help. And it can feel uncomfortable to keep asking for help too often, too much. You might need someone who understands audio engineering better to get higher quality feedback. Or plus, sometimes you want to be independent as a creator without being influenced by others too much. So regarding the use of technology, it turns out that DHH audio engineers use almost the same technology as hearing audio engineers, like DAWs and plugins. One exception is the hearing device, like hearing aids or cochlear implants, which can introduce its own set of frustrations. For example, about hearing aids, since most hearing aids are designed and adjusted for speech rather than music that contains a broader range of sound, they are often simply not good for music or audio engineering purposes. And finding an audiologist who is comfortable adjusting the setting for musical work is another challenge because it requires the right equipment in the lab and also expertise. Another thing is how they learn and grow as an audio engineer. Based on the research so far, I didn't notice a difference between the music and podcast engineers. All 8 participants in music came through formal education, such as degrees in music technology, whereas the 4 podcasters learned audio engineering and podcasting by themselves through trial and error. They've often developed their own ways of doing audio engineering, sometimes not optimal, yet somehow works for them. And they felt that it's too much hassle to try out new tools or workflows, as they spend so many hours of learning and trial and error, and that might limit the opportunities for them to expand their skills. So that's pretty much where my research stands right now, basically to understand the current state of accessibility. And one of my future research direction is to think about how we can use AI for this. For example, sound design task in podcasting. Like imagine you are making a drama podcast and you want to insert a footstep sound. It seems simple, but actually you've got to think about a lot of factors like sneakers or heels, wood floor or tile, or walking and running. Like each of these details totally change the appropriate choice of sound. And those subtle cues can be tough to catch for DHH individuals sometimes. So what if we can develop an AI tool that can describe those subtle nuances of the sound and help them select and insert the sound appropriate for the scenes? I'm thinking about that kind of things. Okay, and this is my last slide. Before I go, I'd love to share one last thing. Christian Kim, she's a deaf artist, has an amazing show at the Whitney Museum right now. So if you are around this area, you definitely want to check this out. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kate. That was awesome. And again, shows you that with accessibility, every career and profession is possible, and really awesome research. I'd now like to invite Indira from an awesome nonprofit accessibility organization in New York City, Tech Kids Unlimited. Take it away, Indira.
All right, getting better.
Hello. Nice. I'm a normally loud person, which is great, but I've also been told that I'm not loud enough, so I'm practicing being close to the mic. My name's Indira, and I'm with Tech Kids Unlimited. Our mission statement's on the screen, and I'll tell you briefly about what we do. So we're a nonprofit organization that teaches technology to neurodiverse youth ages 10 to 24. And I've been with Tech Kids for a long time, so I can say we started off as doing tech workshops about like animation, digital art, game design, web dev. And we saw as our community was growing that there was this huge gap. And the gap is in the workforce. A lot of autistic people aren't employed or struggle to gain employment, to sustain employment. And although there's a demonstrated interest in technology, there's just not enough support for that. So that's kind of where we're going and what we want to bring to the table. I started as a counselor. Just a little bit about me and my background, because it's like, who is this person? It's me, Indira. I have been there since 2015. I was like at NYU studying, and Beth, the executive director, walked up to me and we just had a conversation about the organization. And since then, I've been working as a part of it in some capacity. I was a counselor, and then I was like, actually, I really love this. I love teaching youth. I love showing them the freedom of creative expression. And through my involvement with young neurodiverse people, I've been able to share the joy in, like, we're making a collage about Sonic the Hedgehog, and now you know how to use Photoshop. And that's like, I've met children who don't speak, or they either choose not to, or they struggle with that in some capacity, and it's like, you get to know more about them through providing these tools. So Tech Kids Unlimited provides educational opportunities for students with autism spectrum disorder and ADHD. We have weekend and after-school courses and week-long summer workshops, after-school career pathway, holiday programs. We, again, expanded into work-based learning, and the tech skill workshops have been a core of what we do for a long time, like I mentioned. And our mission, a bit more about that, we want to address the gaps in accessible experiences with technology. We want to inspire neurodiverse students, and we want to teach computational thinking and tech skills in a nurturing and supportive, individualized community. Does anyone know someone who's neurodiverse or identifies as neurodivergent at all? Nice. Yeah, that's, so for those who cannot see the audience, that is most of the room actually, which is pretty awesome. So here's a list of what some of our community members may identify with or experience. It's not comprehensive, but a lot of things kind of go hand in hand here. And we offer virtual and in-person programs. Our virtual programs are great because we see people from all over the United States. And our in-person programs are also great because people get to like hang out and play video games on like their Switch that they bring together. And we work out of the Ability Lab at NYU Tandon. We have social workers in each classroom, a high counselor-student ratio, and financial aid that's available, and also some free programs. So now I talked about what we do in a general sense, but I want to think about what access looks like in practice. And I have this sick video to show you.
For me, neurodiversity means that some people's brains are actually different from others.
It means that everyone's brain works differently.
That my strengths are also my differences.
That there's a spectrum of people who learn or gather information differently. And that could also mean that we have quirky and unique abilities, you could say.
Neurotypical people think differently than we do.
I think about how creative people can be.
How much I love my special interests.
How I can see the world in a unique way.
And how we solve problems in different ways.
One thing I wish people knew about autism is that it's not a curse.
That we deserve to be treated with respect.
It doesn't make you any less normal.
It's something that makes us all unique.
You might think autistic people can't find a way to make friends, but in fact, I have my own way of doing that, and it's just fine.
People think I can't communicate well, but I find my own ways.
Autism helped me gain confidence in life. Autism isn't a curse, it's what makes people special.
You might think that people who are neurodiverse can't live by themselves, can't communicate well with others, and can't stand up for each other. But in fact, we can.
So then our tools that we teach can also be used for storytelling, because anything can be a medium for storytelling and narrative. So in the top left, we have a game design workshop. There was tabletop games and digital games, and this card game workshop allowed the students to express their interest about pirates, or it was pirate-based, and we also provide opportunities for feedback and just getting to know how people feel about what lessons we're teaching, if they want to do more of it, because that's also an important thing, is just like engaging the youth, the students, and just like, we want to have fun. We're also learning, but at the same time, it's like we want you to use these tools because you want to use them and because they're going to benefit you in some way, right? So in the bottom left, you'll see the youth on the digital art programs. We also like to use a lot of web-based software that is accessible to them when they go home, so you don't need to buy an expensive subscription that essentially is, that's a barrier, financial barrier. So we believe in transferable skills amongst tools. And these videos, I'm just gonna talk over. One example of working with the community, Marilyn the chef is this lovely nutritionist on the left who came in to talk about nutrition and the power of choices. Like if you're at a bodega, you can get the candy bar or you can get the orange, and which one is healthier for you. And we invited her in because we have students with ADHD that would just eat a lot of cookies for lunch, as one does. I used to do that. But then they would just crash and just start napping on the table. And it's like, you need to make informed choices about your health and need to know, at least know like what's going on with your body and how this could change if you want that to change. And then on the right, we know our students love karaoke. So I met some artists and I was like, hey, they have this fun project where they do like karaoke where they switch out the words with data sets. So it's combining like AI, tech, and also karaoke. And it was super fun. And that's a tech social. So we also have opportunities for people to connect in that capacity. Digital agency is one of our programs where we partner our interns up with clients and they do client projects. So one of the things on the left is the Museum of Moving Image has this event called Marvels of Media where they center autistic and neurodivergent creators. And our digital agency got to present games in there this year and last year, which is really great. And so that's been a really great partnership. It's also just a way of celebrating all the hard work that everyone's doing, and we get to hang out together. A bunch of the staff came this year. It was really fun. And on the right, it just demonstrates digital agency is a virtual program. So also when we get to celebrate it in person, that's cool too, because then people who haven't met each other see each other in real life, and it's like, you're taller than I thought you'd be, for example, is something I might say to somebody, because for those who can't see, I'm short. And so access just finally is a practice, not a checkbox. It's something that we have to keep doing and find new ways of doing, new ways of applying it. And it lives in every part of our ecosystem at Tech Kids, but also just this ecosystem, the curricula, the media, and the mentorship. And when we make space for neurodiverse creativity, we all benefit. Some space that you can make for neurodiverse creativity. We actually have an exhibition of student work if you want to come and check it out. This is the RSVP QR code, and that's it, actually. That's all I have. So I'm just going to leave the QR code up.
Thank you so much, Indira, and everyone should definitely check out Tech Kids Unlimited. It's amazing how long they've been doing great services in our city, and I've had the opportunity to go and see it firsthand, and it's really a great program. Last but not least, we're going to bring up Damien Sion from Adobe to give our last lightning talk, which we're very excited about. Thank you, Damien.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Damien Sion. I work at Adobe, as Thomas mentioned. I am a design accessibility program manager, and I work in the design organization within Adobe. Specifically, I work in the product equity team. And further specifically, I work in a specialization and a strategic focus of practice transformation. One layer down from that, I also, how I achieve that practice transformation is through enablement and training. So that's my specialty and focus. Spencer Stoltz Johnson is our manager of our group, and my peers are Danny Burr, Juliana Rousel, and Noelle Fall. I'm here to talk to you today about creating customized accessibility tools with artificial intelligence. I'm going to frame that conversation in a recent training that I was building for Adobe.com. And the group of people I was training were content authors and copywriters. And during this effort of building the training, I kind of had my epiphany that I don't want to rely on the automated testing tools from companies that don't do the work that I do. And I hope to share that epiphany with you and have you have your own epiphany tonight. We'll see. So this is how I start a training for this group. For content authors and copywriters, I stick to my main food groups: alt text, link text, heading text, tables, lists, color contrast, color alone, putting pause ability on motion, captions on videos, and identifying language of the page and parts of the page. I don't talk to them about anything else because they can't affect any change or outcome with anything else on the website. They're using a content management system. It's highly templated. They're very limited in what they're able to do, so I talked to them about that in great detail. And I have the link text piece here highlighted on my screen. Oops. And that's where I kind of dug in, and I decided that I'm going to build my own testing tools. And why that's special is that I am not an engineer. I'm not a software developer, I'm not a programmer. I am a subject matter expert. I am a very good tester. I'm a great user of assistive technologies. I'm a great auditor, and I can do training really well, but I am not a developer. So in the past, when I've had ideas to do things, I've had to rely on others, and it's a wall that I hit that I broke through. This is an example of one of the lessons that I would give to this group. On the screen, I have 3 cards. Each has a call to action. That call to action is the word open. It's a link. And what I teach people here, and the way that I teach this lesson, is that a screen reader user tabbing through this interface would hear open, link, open, link, open, link. If they pull up a list of the links on the rotor tool using VoiceOver, which I'm picturing here, they're going to hear open, open, open. So the lesson that I give them is to expand on that. And the way that I tell them to do that in this environment with this group is to grab that adjacent heading and instead say open text to image, open generate video, open text to vector. And as I'm building this, I'm thinking, why am I not also building them a tool that would help them understand how to do that in their situation? So when they go back to their desk, they can actually take the lesson I've given them and feel comfortable and confident in doing the work. And one of my lessons that the last part of the lesson I always give is that automated testing tools will only get you so far. And that exact scenario that I just showed you would not get picked up by Axe. It would not get picked up by Wave, by WebAIM. Andy, will give you a warning, and Arc Toolkit will give you a warning, which is cool. I didn't picture that all up here. So in the face of that, I decided I don't want to have that conversation with them again. And I don't want to have that conversation with them again on link text or any other of those 10 areas. And I want to build them something that will work for them. And again, I'm not a developer, so I use Cursor AI. And I had long conversations with Cursor AI to build a set of tools based on these parameters. I only want to look at links that occur inside of main. Content authors can't do anything in the header or the footer of the page. They're only working in main. Rule 1 is the one I just showed you. If you have the same link text that's going to different destinations, you owe me an ARIA label for those. Rule 2, if you do an ARIA label, you have to start off that ARIA label with the visible text. Learn more about what? Read more about what? Free trial of what? That's rule 2. Rule 3, if you put blue link text inside of a block of non-interactive text that's black, give me the underline. And did not look at the 3:1 contrast ratio because I think it's a cop-out. So here it is in action. Again, I am not a coder or a developer, but I did make a graphical user interface. I used a bookmarklet style, and it will analyze the page and get extremely granular about the environment that they are working in. So it will pick up CSS style names. It'll pick up component names. It'll pick up everything that's just germane to this group that I'm spending the time training. And here it shows a screen reader text, it shows why it's a failure, and it shows the suggestion, which I also built with Cursor AI. Can you give them the right answer? The right answer is pick up the H3 that's right above the link. It's always going to be the same thing in that component. So I can tell them that, and I can give them the tool so they have the confidence to do it on their own. Rule 2, the error that's caught here, the screen reader would read, get help from our support team, link. But the visible text label is contact us. So the tool also gives them the suggestion. The screen is not correct, I had the wrong graphic there. The real thing would say contact us, customer support. And you can see that I do have listed out the levels of support from automated testing. They'll get you so far, but they won't do everything that I needed to do. And here is rule 3, where the link text is blue set inside of black non-interactive text. The only way to determine if that text is interactive is with the ability to perceive the color blue. So we put and I don't care if it's 3 to 1. That's a technique, it's non-normative. No. So, why does it matter that I did that? One, I think that this is a conversation that a lot of us are about to have. If you go and ask your leadership for headcount, they're going to ask you what you're doing with AI. And I think it's time for us people like me, who are not developers, who have ideas, to get ahead of this and start having really good stories to tell. Because it's going to come up, and it's going to come up really quickly. And this time last year, I wouldn't have had an answer, and now I do. So I'm hoping that you take the call. And if you're like me, you're not a developer, and you have ideas, don't let it stop you from building your own tools that do the exact thing that you need them to do for those people. I am not claiming that I am now a developer because I use Cursor AI. I understand that. I am not exercising a hubris to say I am now a software developer. But the cool icing on this cake, the development team for Adobe.com is a group called Consonant. They were making their own testing tool. And when they saw my testing tool, they said, can we please have that? I said, of course. And what they got was all the logic, they got code snippets, and they got my subject matter expertise, which they wouldn't have had on their own. So, yeah, I'm a minute shy, but I think I did it right. So that's my pitch. Go out and use Cursor AI and any other tool that you can. Build your stuff. Don't let anything stop you, and keep going at it until it works, which is what I did. So thank you.
Thank you, Damien. Okay, so those are our 4 lightning talks. And I don't remember if I warned our speakers about this beforehand, but we would like you all 4 to come back up for Q&A. And we're going to open up to the group here and online and have a few minutes of picking your brain while I do this. Cool. All right, now I'm gonna get this up. Okay, Raquel, I'll hand you the.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Okay, let's see. I'm going to start. Let me just start with any questions in the room to kick us off. Otherwise, I'll go to one online. Okay. First one is, let's see, a question for Raquel. What helps to get more people on board with accessible innovation?
It's a good question and one that we face every day. I would say to that end, we recommend making it tangible and speaking people's language. And I can share 2 examples, one that we learned and one that I learned along the way. So one is, I speak to a lot of students, grade school students, high school students, college students, and every time I speak to them, I take a baseline question. I ask everyone in the room who has proximity to disability, whether their own or a loved one's, who has experience or context for accessibility, and the third question, who has ever used disability tech? And in the course of my presentations, in the course of speaking to them, when I unpack what that means, what each of these terms mean, disability, accessibility, and disability tech, which we at HOW define as any products and services that advance accessibility, it changes the conversation. When I ask them as a follow-up question, who has ever used a text message? Who has ever used touchscreens? These are innovations that came from the deaf and hard of hearing community and the mobility community, respectively. So touchscreens, that foundational technology that sits behind everything that we use today, came from a grad student who had carpal tunnel syndrome and needed to complete his thesis. So that made it real for them. So after one such presentation, when I talked about this, students who had said that they have no experience in accessibility, no proximity to disability, came up to me and said, "We are student athletes. And now, of course, we know what accessibility means, because when we got injured, we had to go to the one dorm on campus that was accessible. And we had to explain to our professors why we needed extra time to get on campus. And as a way of making it tangible, sort of in a meta way for their professors, they said, "Come, professor, come take this journey with me as I go from my dorm to your classroom, and you will understand why I need this extra time." So I'd recommend making it tangible and speaking people's languages to try to find a touch point and a common point to make it real for them.
That's awesome. Any other speakers have anything they want to add to that? Otherwise, I can jump to either another in-room or online question. Anybody in room have anything? Oh, okay, I see one back there, one back there.
Oh, hey, good evening. So actually I have questions for both Keta and Damien, but maybe I'll do one now and one later. So Keta, in audio engineering, you need to use a lot of plugins generally, right? And these can be extremely helpful for the types of use cases you're describing. So for example, for clicks and pops, just extraneous bad sounds, you have something that automates those things away. But if you're doing podcast or dialogue editing, it becomes very difficult, right? And so I was curious, so I just looked this up. Since I haven't done audio engineering in some years, I wasn't sure. There's something called Audio Shake, which creates clean, time-stamped lyric transcriptions with high accuracy and syncs and aligns the transcript with the audio, right? And so for some of your use cases, that would be incredibly invaluable, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to edit the dialogue naturally, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I personally have never used that, and I don't remember my participants mentioned that specific plugin. And more interestingly, people in podcasting field, I think because of the nature of the medium, like emerging a new kind of technology, it's like a kind of like a YouTube thing, like you make your own YouTube like content, like as an individual amateur creator, like many podcasting people do that kind of things, like without formal education. So for them, finding the right technologies, finding how to use learning how to use those technologies also is a big challenge. Like they don't know how to use it. There are big gaps. Like technology is there or maybe almost there, but you just don't have a chance to use it, or you don't have you don't feel super comfortable trying out those things, but rather than stick to the old, like some technologies or like some ways that are not super optimal for them. Like some people even don't use like automation of noise reduction, which is to some extent very basic tool, but people just prefer to find the noise just by themselves, exploring all the recordings and trying to find these tiny things and just delete them, those kind of things by hands. And some people do that. So yeah, there are technologies there, but how to use those technologies, and they are out of complicated things. But yes, going back to that plugin, I think it's very nice, and I'd love to use that. Thank you.
Cool. Got one from online for Indira. How do you involve neurodiverse youth in shaping the way Tech Kids Unlimited shares your stories or their stories?
That's a great question. So we actually have the Neurodiversity Advisory Council, which is made up of community members from Tech Kids Unlimited, and we essentially have a group of community members who are like, I like this program, or even deciding which workshops we're going to have, having ideas of what they want us to share on social media, or volunteering to create things that they want to be shared on social media. And so just really, one student in particular is like super involved. And he was like, I love this guest speaker. I want them to come and guest speak for us in this program too. And so we were like, yeah, we'll make that happen. So yeah, it's just really about nourishing that self-advocacy and allowing more opportunities for people to engage with what they're a part of, you know, calling people in. Nothing about us without us. Not to like, that term might be, I don't think it's a cliche. I think it's like a good term for a reason. So we definitely practice that.
Awesome. Thank you. I think we got time for one more in room, and then I think we probably need to wrap to let our captioner and. Oh, okay, cool.
This question's for Raquel. So just to give a little background, I try to make adaptive tools for people with disabilities myself. You know, a bunch of things, and you know, eating tools, cooking utensils, the works.
Yeah.
I'm trying to actually get into more rooms and more classrooms and different places in order to like spread the idea of making adaptive devices. Like, what's a good method you think of actually getting in contact with people and getting into rooms and things of that nature?
Good question. I'm happy to talk more personally after this. I would say broadly there's a bottom-up and a top-down strategy. So bottom-up would be the people who are very much aligned and know that there's a need. That would be, say, families and parents of people with disabilities, teachers, related support providers, and more. That's the bottom level. Sort of top-down would be school administrators, the decision makers, people who might have budgets and funding to control, people who might be able to make this decision that would affect a mass amount of people. I think the particulars would depend on what your production capabilities are, what you're interested in. For context, we have an assistive device center at Perkins, and I'm happy to talk more about our thoughts there, which include the question about scaling. So we currently service Perkins students we make 2,000 adaptive devices for 1,200 Perkins students per year. And we're thinking about what does that look like on a national market. So happy to chat more.
Okay. Want to thank our amazing speakers. We are out of time, but thank you all, Raquel, Keita, Indira, and Damien, for your awesome talks. Thanks for joining us for our inaugural lightning talks at A11yNYC.
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much. Thank you.
Here, I've got a few wrap-ups, so y'all are welcome to hang out here if you want, but I will, let's see. So, thank you all for joining in our borrowed space. Thanks again to Verizon for letting us borrow the space for the evening from their ADA celebration event. And thanks for playing along. Want to thank our sponsors, IRA, Evinced, Equal Entry, Fable, DQ, and shout out to AKQA. We will be back there again at our normal space next month on Spring Street. Thanks again to the Accessibility NYC team, Jelly McPhee, Flip Wilson, Mirror by Night, Merrill Online, Thomas and Arena, and we do have a question for everybody. Since this is the first time we've done this format, we'd love if you would, there's a QR code up on screen right now. If you have feedback, thoughts, ways we can make it better, or if you loved every minute of it, it would be helpful to hear any and all the thoughts. We really appreciate it because we think we're going to do this every few months, maybe once a quarter, I'm not sure. But if you like this format, we'd love to know how we can make it better. The other ask is, last month we launched a new Slack community so we can keep the conversation going between events. So we'd love if you would join us there. There's a QR code on the screen now for that. Or you can go to bit.ly/A11yNYC Slack. You do need an invitation from an existing Slack member to get added. So feel free to reach out to one of us on LinkedIn if you need that. We can do that. Our next event is back in our usual space at AKQA again. It's going to be with Jason Tan and Michael Burvell from Test Party. They're going to be talking about the digital accessibility gap, how AI and automation can bridge mobile and web barriers. We are also looking for sponsors to help us ensure we can continue to keep the meetup accessible and help support all the things that help make this run as we run it. And so if your company or if you know of a company that might be interested in sponsoring, please get in touch, let us know. And we'd love to have a conversation about that. And I think, so we do usually do a call for anyone who is currently hiring for a paid accessibility position. If you have an open role, let us know. We might not have time to do an announcement about that, but in the networking after, please let us know. We're happy to share that out. I think that's our show. Thanks everybody that attended online and in person. Sponsors, organizing team. Meryl will post a written recap of the meetup on equalentry.com, so keep an eye out for that. And that's a wrap. Thanks a lot, everybody. Really appreciate it. Oh, in the space, you're welcome to hang out for another 20, 25 minutes until 9 o'clock if you want to network and hang out and talk with folks. Thanks.